What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Coffee and Questions podcast. My name is Michelle Michael. I am your host, and I am really excited to be featuring one of my absolute closest and best girlfriends in this industry. I feel like we became friends on accident and have now just really attached to one another in many cases. And I'm not sad to say that I'm a little addicted to this woman. So I'll say it that way. But Claire Barber, welcome to my show. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you so much. You are so sweet. I will say I am likely addicted to you and just appreciate you and your friendship and how we've just grown over the last year together. So super happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, I just couldn't wait to do this episode, and it's been on my heart for a long time. And I know I remember finally asking you like, "Hey, let's do this." And it was so hard to schedule because it was in the teeth of the holidays. And so just to be able to officially get to do this with you, I'm just really excited. Not just for me to be able to hear you, but for everybody else to be able to hear just your journey, your story, and that whole kind of backside to, how did Barber Law become Barber Law and the way that we all know it now. So you are managing attorney of Barber Law. For those who don't know her, I just don't know a more powerful, dominant, high D female than this woman. So, Claire, welcome to the show. Let's jump in right away with just who is Claire? How did we become Claire? And then ultimately, how did Barber Law become Barber Law?
Sure. So I've been in the industry for 10 years, a whole decade, which is just crazy to think about because I don't feel like I've been anywhere for a whole decade, but here we are. The time has flown by. Right out of law school, I jumped into the mortgage industry, and I've always heard that people either are born into the industry or they somehow just fall into it. I am a byproduct of the latter. I did not even know who Fannie Mae was. I joked, like, I remember being in a huge conference room with some new colleagues and attorneys who are very experienced and asking, like, okay, who is this Fannie Mae person we keep talking about? What's a GSE? They don't teach you this stuff in law school, but I kind of just jumped in and got my experience and found out that I just really loved mortgage. I love the industry. I love the people. I loved the purpose. Like, we're making the American dream come true. Like, this is a really cool place to be. And so here we are 10 years later. I am, like you said, the managing attorney at Barber Law. We've been open for 3 years now. It is one of the most challenging and rewarding things that I have ever done. And thank you for all the kind words you said. I feel like just being a female in the mortgage industry is one thing, but being a female also in the legal industry is a whole nother thing. We're the minority in both groups or industries. So being able to, to grow into what Barber Law has become today, after just 10 years of being here has been really incredible. And honestly, not a blessing that I take lightly. Very, very proud of what we're building.
Yeah, I mean, I just think of you and I think of me. Like, we're just the same in the sense of how we started and how we got to where we got to today. Being only 3 years old, that's wild to me to think that Barber Law is so young still in the overall scheme of things. But I remember our very first lunch. We met on LinkedIn. I don't even know how many years ago, many years ago. And then we finally were crossing paths in Dallas at the same time. And we ended up having lunch at this really, I don't even remember the name
At
of
the airport, at
the airport.
Maggiano's, at the airport.
In the airport. Like, guys, this is real life, right? Like, social comes together and you make what you can make out of or make lemonade out of lemons, right? However you want to look at that. But we ended up having lunch, and one of the things that was really on my heart to talk about today specifically is one, I do want to talk about being women in the industry. I don't want to make it like a we don't love our men side of things, because the truth is I do love my clients. I love working with men, but as women, right, we have and we face different challenges than what a man does or would. And I think the important thing that you and I talked about at that lunch was we don't have excuses. We don't have back doors to how we build our companies. We just do it, right? We just put our head down and we just do it. So I really want to go back to year one of Barber Law and, hey, I want to go get my first client. I want to go get my second client. What did that even look like for you? And do you feel like now is easier? I assume obviously, but I still want to hear from your perspective, year one versus today.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And it's actually not something talk about very much, but for opening Barber Law, I had taken about half a year off. And I wasn't really sure, I say now, like, I'm so dedicated, I'm all in on mortgage. I love it so much. I can't imagine doing anything else than being an owner of a law firm in the mortgage industry, right? Like, this is what God put me on this earth to do. And I love that. But I needed a little bit of a break after COVID. And, I've always been, I love how you put it, that we're just like very like high energy, very passionate about what we do. Some other people may call that a workaholic. Okay, call it what it is.
Same.
But I needed just a little bit of a break. And I decided to take 6 months off, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I wasn't 100% sure that I was going to go open a law firm in Houston, Texas, and grow it to what it is today. I thought maybe I would go in-house for a lender. I'd always worked with lenders, love the in-house kind of feel. Maybe go work for a title company. I've always loved a lot of what we do here at Barber Law revolves around title. And so, I thought, maybe I'll go work and be an employee until my phone started ringing. And my clients who I'd worked with for the last 7 years were wondering, where'd you go? Where are you? Like, what are you doing? How can I work with you? Like, where, we want to follow your journey. And I'm like, me? Like, little Claire Barber? Like, what do you mean? Like, I was just like dumbfounded. But then, the more people that spoke into me saying, you can do this, like, go compete with everyone else, like, go open your own firm, go, grow. And I actually had one of my clients who today is still my client and a very good friend and mentor of mine say, Claire Barber, you can do this. And if you do, I will give you all the business on January 1st. So fast forward to January 1st, 2023. And I was so fortunate to be able to open a firm and have a client at the door. So on day one, I already had my ops manager. I already had my legal assistant who both had been with me for years that were able to come on board. I mean, like, what a huge blessing to just be able to start and have revenue on day one. That is, again, not something I take lightly. And so from there, the same things kept happening. The phone kept ringing and I'm like, okay, wow, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. And so year one, honestly, 100% of my business had 0% to do with sales, prospecting. It was all relationship based. I'm super proud of that because
Yeah.
I've always said I've been a very relational person. I think a lot of times, like, for what we're building now, I do have sales, and Ashley very well.
Yeah.
She has been a perfect addition to Barber Law, and now we are selling the firm. 3 years in, we're finally able to, like, go and get clients. Not that we haven't needed to, but we're at a place now where we're ready for some extreme growth. And so I could bring in a 20-year veteran in the industry to come lead my sales team. And where we're going is it's big. And so I'm excited to be here at a place now where we can do sales and prospect and really go all in on social. And I think that too is like perfect timing for us when we connected, because I was ready to do that. Where before I was just in a great position where I had loyal clients that still wanted to work with me.
Yeah, I mean, what a blessing though, right? Like, to your point,
Yeah.
that is such a blessing to open your doors and just immediately know there's someone sitting on your doorstep waiting for you to turn the key and open it and let them in, right? Like,
Yeah.
what I would have given for that in year one back then. But I just think also that that's a testament to the fact that you are such a relationship-based person, which I honestly think, you know me very well, you know my story well, and you know the book well, which is a big reason why I wrote it. But prospecting for me has always been something where I look at it and I say, I'm not just prospecting to make money, because yes, that is ultimately the side effect, right? Is that we end up with clients that pay invoices so that they can
Yeah.
work with us. But really, it's a relationship, like truly a
Mhm.
genuine relationship. And why is Barber Law at a place where it can grow so much in year three? And I truly believe from knowing you that it's relationships 100%. But I don't think enough people talk about how important relationships are, not that you already have, but also that you want to grow and maintain when you're actually trying to prospect. I
Yeah.
don't think
And
that people are talking about that.
no, and I think that for me, that took me a really long time to figure out. And I kind of had to work backwards. I'm like, how do I get to working with a client, right? Because it doesn't just happen like this. I mean, rare. Maybe you have a competitor that royally messes up on something and they're so perturbed that they just cut that relationship and they pick up the phone, they call me. That's happened once. Otherwise, it's like a literally 18-month I joke, it's like, okay, first you start dating, then you start, thinking about getting engaged. And then once you get engaged, you got the prenup, which is, the engagement agreement. Then you got to negotiate that. Then someone gets cold feet. It's like the sales cycle and what I do is not something that happens overnight. But how I worked my way back to, building these relationships is like, my first thing is I want to build credibility. Once I get credibility with someone, I got to build their trust. Credibility turns into trust. That trust then turns into a friendship. Right now, they're starting to trust me. I've built some credibility with them. That friendship turns into maybe an opportunity to talk about business. Like my first meeting with someone there, I'm not going in hard on sales. Like I just want to get to know who you are and tell you a little bit about the firm and what we do. If you want to, start talking numbers, great. But like that is rarely my first, you know, uh, my first interaction with a potential client. So it's like, let me get the credibility. Credibility brings trust. Trust then builds that relationship that then brings the business opportunities. And that has worked for me time and time again.
Well,
So
it's so true. So true, right? Like the whole dating situation when you think of it
I
from that
know.
perspective. But
Yeah.
it's like that in any industry. I don't care whether it's us in working with the mortgage industry and or, someone selling vacuums. Like I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't make the person on the receiving end feel trustworthy or feel like you're trustworthy, it really doesn't matter. But one thing that I was thinking about when you were talking about that specifically is relationships, especially when we're talking about a longevity, like, hey, I'm doing a 6 month agreement or a year agreement or something like that with a client. That takes so many steps to get to that.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, I think, is actually built in like the beginning of the relationship, right? So, like when you have a client that starts and wants to work with you for 6 months, those first 2 months, I feel like, are so critical to whether or not the rest of the agreement is even going to continue. Because I think most people they get the job or they get the client, right? And then they're like, whoop, got it. Now I'm gonna back off.
Yeah.
And you can't. You just can't do
No.
that.
No. And going back one more time to Ashley, like that's why I had to get someone like that. It's because as I grew, I realized I can't have my hands in all these different, pots. I need someone that I can delegate to and that can take over, that piece so then I can stick to what I do best. Right. And I think that as being business owners of small companies that are growing into empires, right? We have to
Yeah.
realize when we can't just step back. And I feel like we've talked about this before, like just being able to delegate to someone that you trust, right? Like trust is integral in like every relationship, whether that's business or employee or, family, like it's just huge. I keep falling
Well,
back on
it's stressful too, especially for us when we ourselves, like me, myself, and I, right, are how our companies were built.
that.
So it's very difficult to say, I'm gonna take myself out of this. So, and I heard something at a conference I was at recently, and I really am curious what your take is on this particular statement. But the gentleman that was speaking said outbound should come from the top. And when I heard him, of course, my prospecting brain gets turned on, and I think outbound, meaning like outbound prospecting, should come from the top, aka like the leader of the organization. And I always think about that because
Yeah.
when people get on the phone with me, they're like, "We want to work with you." And so it's always been very, very difficult for me to say I'm going to hire a salesperson to come do that for me because my fear is I'm going to get 80% of a loss instead of 80% of a win because it's not me. Right.
Yeah.
So that journey with Ashley, I know you didn't take lightly. I've known how that experience started and happened for you, but can you talk about that? Because you did source all of your own business for so long. How do you shift away from it's not
Right.
just Claire anymore?
Yeah, that's a challenge. I will say, and I know we're going to get into talking a little bit about social platforms, but
Yeah.
that's been a challenge for me on LinkedIn. People want to follow and engage with Claire Barber, not Barber Law. And I don't, not that they don't, right? But they know who Claire Barber is. I can post something on my personal page and it will outperform 20 times what something on Barber Law will,
Always.
and so I'm really trying to shift the narrative a little bit. Like there's nothing wrong with the fact that everyone associates um, your media company with Michelle or Barbara Law with Claire. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But as we're growing, I need to step back a little bit, empower other people to do their jobs, but also kind of rebuild the brand. Now, that being said, I think you can agree with me on this. Like we both may be a little bit of not perfectionists, yes, but control freak. Like I do like to have my hands and everything, know what's going on.
Yeah.
But also realizing, and again, empowering my team to do their job. I want to be involved as much as I can, but I realize when I'm stretched so thin that, I'm trying to do everything. I'm not a good boss. I'm not a good partner to my clients. I'm not a good daughter. I'm not a good sister. I'm not a good wife. I'm not, I'm other areas of my life start to struggle. And so as I'm starting to like shift the narrative to like, yes, working with Barber Law is working with Claire Barber, but also Barber Law can stand on its own. Claire
Mm.
Barber is like, I'm not here to toot my own horn. Like I think I'm a great attorney. I work my butt off. I serve my clients well, but like they don't need me. 90% of what my office does happens without me, and they crush it. Like they are just freaking amazing. And that's why, a lot of my staff has been with me for the last 8 years and has followed. And they're the real, MVPs here.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of shifting that narrative. Like as much as I want to be involved in everything, and I know you're the same way,
100%.
that's, that's not why I'm here, So it's an interesting question. I'll have to think about outbound comes from the top.
Yeah, I mean, when he said it, I really slowed my roll for a minute and sat there and reflected and thought, one, so true. But two, also, again, I agree 100%. Empowering our team is critical
Yeah,
because I have a very, I don't want to say signature quote because that sounds weird to say, but like something I've said a lot recently that it's just really stuck with people. But I've said burnout isn't doing too much. It's actually doing too much of the wrong thing. And
yeah,
I remember the day where I came downstairs on a Wednesday afternoon and walked into my husband's office and I just sit in the chair next to his desk and I just started bawling. And he was like, it's Wednesday. Like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm just so tired. Like, I'm just stressed out. I'm tired and I just feel exhausted. And he's like,
yeah,
well, babe, we just got back from a vacation like a couple weeks ago. Like, how are you already stressed out again, And
yeah,
it was right there in that moment, hearing my husband make that comment where I realized I love my job so much. I love serving my clients. I love doing what I do, but something had to change. And I think that we get to that place where we realize we don't have to and we can't do
yeah,
everything as much as we want to. But I do think the outbound, right, specifically because that's one of the things I teach, right, teaching you how to actually send messages using social as the vehicle to create the relationship. I do think that that should come from us, right?
yeah,
In the sense of if I want to go get a meeting with someone, I'm not going to ask Heather, my executive assistant, to go get me the meeting. I'm going to ask for the meeting. So I think it's a catch 22, you know?
yes. Although sometimes with veteran salespeople, they have relationships that because I have only been in the industry for 10 years, and
Yeah.
sometimes I'm up against service providers that have been in the industry for 40 plus years.
Yeah.
So sometimes having that experience within sales, which now we have here,
Yeah, you're so
is
lucky,
actually,
but like you're just so lucky. A pin
thank
drop
you.
on that one for a second because like I've talked to Ashley, I've met Ashley. That woman is the pillar of just perfection in so many ways, right? Like has it together, walks the walk, talks the talk, leads from the front. Like so to have somebody like that on your team, it's super inspiring to other like to me personally as another one in the industry trenches with you because I don't have that type of a sales position on my
Yeah.
team. But I look at you and I'm like, if Claire can do it, I can do it. It's just a matter of, again, who that person ends up being.
Right. Well, it's all about right place, right time, right person. It did not happen overnight. And I actually remember telling you at our Maggiano's airport date, I think I'm going to hire someone.
Yes.
I don't even know that I had told you who it was at the time, but yeah, and you'll get there. I mean, maybe 2026 is that year that you find that person, but it took 3 years to get there, and I think again, right place, right time.
Well, yeah, I think just in general, though, that's a big key for us in high performing leadership roles, because you need somebody who you can actually trust to have the conversation the same way that you do. But that's my number one insecurity, right? Is I built this. It is me. It is what I created. And I know you know and share that sentiment. So it's very difficult when you say, "Hey, go over there and talk about the things that I created and don't mess it up," right?
Yeah.
Um, so it's a
100%. But
challenge.
as I've grown staff, and I think you'll start to think of this as you grow, but none of us are indispensable. And I say that I'm not trying to be morbid here, but like I could be driving home today and get in a car accident and something happened. That would be extremely unfortunate. But then I also leave a team now that's expecting a paycheck on Friday
Mm.
and has family and has their kids on insurance plans and things that again are so much bigger than Claire Barber. So it's almost like you have to get to a place to where you trust your team and you hire people and you grow with people who understands your heart, where you're coming from and your narrative and can tell that same story, right? Because at the end of the day, even I feel like a lot of sales is storytelling, right? Like here's who we are, here's why we're, why we want to work with you. Here's what we have to offer. Here's why you can trust us. Here's our customer experience. Here's what matters to me. A lot of times I build relationships with people by literally just telling them who I am and my heart and my family and my, and people want to say this all the time. People want to work with people they know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
And building that foundation and then having a team behind you that can do the same, just empowers me all the more to just go out and grow.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's get real granular just because I think I know your process, but I want to know it from you, and I really want our audience obviously to feel that. But my superpower is sending a message every day to somebody that I don't know, using leverage and creating the next booked call on my calendar with the company that I want to be doing business with. And
Yep.
it's so simple and so easy, Staples easy button. It's like, why wouldn't you do it? But I had a conversation yesterday, legit. This woman is like, I'm too busy to do that. And I'm like, you're too busy to send one message every day to somebody that you don't know to grow your business, then you just don't care about your business that much.
Yeah.
But get granular with me. And I know LinkedIn obviously being your primary platform for you. But why LinkedIn, I guess, is one question I would have. And then also, second to that, do you have a daily process or is it a more of a I open it and I see what I see and I execute?
Yeah. So why LinkedIn? We are 100% B2B. We do not work with consumers. We are 100%, well, I'd say 90% lender, 10% title company. We do work with some title companies, but a lot of times the clientele that I'm going for is on LinkedIn. They're not, and I think I've told you this before because we talk about Instagram. That is the one social platform that I have personally in my life. And really it's just to keep up with my nieces and my nephews and my sisters and like see what's going on in the family. I don't really post much. I'm trying to get like Barber Law and we're working on a Barber Law page, but I haven't really quite gotten there because then most of my followers end up being friends and family and not really my target. So that's why LinkedIn. We are usually talking to the C-suite or higher management and operations or closing. And so my prospects are on LinkedIn. So that has always worked well for us. Now, a process, I feel like every day is has a different workflow. That was actually one of my 2026 goals, was to be a little more, in a routine where, okay, I get to the office, I do X, Y, and Z. We just moved into this beautiful office space. I come here every morning now. I love being here. So getting into like a routine is hopefully by the end of Q1, we have something going. But it's not the same every day. In fact, my biggest problem with LinkedIn messages, and it's funny you say one message, because I was working with a coach at one point that was like 20 DMs a day. I'm like,
No
yeah,
way.
right.
Yeah.
Like there's no way. And also too, I kind of struggle with the people who are like, follower requests, like max out your, connections every week. And that is so not me. Like, I'm not going to connect with someone if I've never met you, or, we don't have some mutual connection that I want to try to, get a warm intro from, or we have something in common, or you posted something that resonated with me. I can't just sit there and, click connect and then, figure out who these people are after the fact. I do not do the one message a day. My biggest holdup is, I call it the cringe factor.
Yeah.
Like, I will start writing a message and it makes me cringe. And I've actually gotten past the cringeness on like posts, because I realize sometimes the cringiest posts are the ones that connect with people the most. But from a DM perspective, it just feels so intimate. Like I'm sliding into your DMs and it's so cringy, right? Like, so, and you've shared some messages with me before, like, here's what I would say. And I'm like, okay, it's not that bad. But then, I put an exclamation mark? Do I put an emoji? Do I put a smiley face? Like, oh, this is weird. Like, do I, it's like, I don't know. I overthink it so much that I end up not doing it more than I do it. So on a granular level, my strategy is just getting into the feed, commenting, engaging, trying to connect with people. You probably notice, or at least my mother notices, I respond to, or I try to respond to every
Oh
comment
yeah.
or message that I get. You know, I probably get so many like sales DMs every week. A lot of times I try to respond, even if I can tell it's like someone who just sent me a generic message, because I would hate to be in their shoes and not get a response. Right. So then imagine if I'm sending you a super personal message and you don't respond, like kind of hurt my feelings. So also, not just the cringe factor, I don't want to be sitting here being, vulnerable because someone who I thought was my friend or wanted to possibly work together won't respond to my message. Like, just seems I'm putting myself in a very vulnerable state. So that's why I don't really do much in DMs, but I do get on the every morning on LinkedIn and I engage with people. I respond to comments. I comment on their content. Um, that's kind of my, I guess, strategy right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, but that's the thing is it's obviously working for you. There's no question there. But your content's really good too. And I think that that's part of it, right? Because if someone sees your comment and they're like, oh, who is this Claire? They click on your profile and your profile is exactly who you say you are. And it's a reflection of the woman I know, right? But for me, I will say like coaching moment in my mind here, right? The cringe factor comes from a lack of understanding where the framework needs to be in those messages. Because some of the comments I've done on people's content, right? We have a mutual friend, Kobe, who I'm about to interview on the show, and Kobe and I like commenting on each other's stuff, and I see him comment on things that I'm tagged in. And so, quite literally, you shoot your shot. And
Yeah.
when you do that first, right, you send or you comment on each other's content back and forth, and you're just like building this sort of recognition of one another, and then you send the message. The key is the framework, right? Because you start with a personal connection, then you bring in FOMO, which is super important, right? Fear of missing out. Think Macy's sale, right? How do we do that without sounding weird? And then the adding value and credibility to who you are. Are you somebody that this person should be actually listening to? And then the
Yeah.
most important thing being a time anchored call to action. And I just did an entire webinar on freaking time anchored call to actions because people suck at it. Um,
Send it to
but,
me.
oh, I will.
To watch it.
But that's the thing is like, and again, this is my philosophy to you even when I have that relationship with someone because I've done good comments or because I've been active there, which you are way better than I am in that category. To me, when I then slide into the DMs, it's so easy because I just follow that four-part framework and I bring the lever in, right? Which you guys listening to this know leverage is the person you're name dropping to build the bridge between one relationship to get to the next. I mean, Claire, I've asked you for intros because you're a lever point, right? Hey, can you name drop or can I name drop you to get to this person? The only difference is you're doing it on LinkedIn, right? Like you're doing it in a message on LinkedIn. So I think the cringe factor as a whole goes away when you take it from your side, commenting, engaging, being really active and visible, and then send the message, because then you already just feel confident in the
Yeah.
outbound in the first
Well,
place.
you make a good point. I just got back from the IMB conference in Amelia Island.
Yeah.
And I know you were in Florida too. I can't believe we were in the same
So
state
close,
and we
but
get
so
to
far.
see each other. But yeah, so it was probably, well, that and then NBA annual back in Las Vegas was the first time I was at conferences where people came up to me and said, oh, Claire, I follow you on LinkedIn. That is giving me confidence to be like, okay, I can't, or like you said with Kobe, like I can say, hey, we're connected via this person. We're both engaging on the same individual's content. That doesn't sound too cringy. I mean, that sounds comfortable to me. Now I just need to, like I said, add it into my routine and figure out like what that looks like. Is it a template that I send to everyone? Do I personalize it?
Definitely not a
Um,
template. I'll say that.
okay.
Yeah.
I always like to find besides one person, like something that they said in their bio or something that I heard them say on a podcast that really resonated with me. Cause I feel like if someone sees you, see them,
Yeah.
right? It's an automatic connection. And again, that's what we're doing here. We're connecting, we're building relationships, we're, getting on a human level, right? Like I'm not a bot sending you some long message wanting to set up a Zoom call. Here's my Calendly. Those drive me absolutely
Oh my
crazy.
goch, so many
Um,
every day too. Holy smokes.
I
LinkedIn's the
know.
worst.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I mean, I feel like just in the last 6 months, it's like super charged, right? With all these messages.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, maybe I'll do some draft messages to send to you to critique
Dude,
me on.
yes, please. I
I
love that.
love
Like,
that.
I love when my friends and clients do that. They're like, hey, I want to send a message to this person. And I know that they'll say yes, but I just want to make sure I write it right. And
Yeah.
it's my favorite. I just had a title rep who was trying to land a broker, like the full office, but wanted to meet with the broker directly. And I wrote two different variations for her, asked her who her lever was, meaning the person she was going to name drop,
Right.
asked her what her ultimate end game goal was, right? So what does that meaning look like for you? What do you want out of it? And then I just made her time anchor it. And I met with her yesterday and she said she landed the meeting and she's actually meeting with them today, the day that we're recording this episode. So now I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to text Sam and say, how did it go? Right. Um, but my encouragement, right, to anyone using LinkedIn especially is, and you said it so well, like that you'll respond to people even if they cringe message you.
Yeah.
I think it's our opportunity to teach them something, right? Because how would they feel if they sent all those messages and didn't get any responses? Hopefully they feel bad. I'm not even gonna lie. I know that sounds bad,
Yeah.
but like hopefully they feel bad because the way I look at it is that failure of I've sent 200 messages and got one response. That is feedback. And do you use it to
Yeah.
adjust? Um,
That's a good point. I mean, I'm talking about like if I send one a day and like 5 days in a row, I don't get a response, I'd be hurt. I can't imagine sending, 200 and not
oh
getting
my
a
gosh.
response. But
Yeah.
you're right. It's almost like, here's your sign. Like it's not working. Change it up. It is a coaching moment. But I do the same on emails. Leading up to conferences, people are, sending these generic emails and I'll respond like, thanks so much. And I know they didn't, I mean, they probably put it in some, email platform that then send it out to all the attendees. I don't know. I don't do that. In fact, I probably spend way too much time reading and rereading and editing and putting it through ChatGPT to make sure it doesn't sound silly, and then sending messages and then going to my outbox for the rest of the day and rereading those messages to make sure I didn't have any errors. Little psycho. But that means that communication means so much to me that I work so hard on it. I'm so intentional about it.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's maybe you're right. Maybe it's not the cringe. Maybe it's the fear of failure that, and I am my own worst critic. I will 100% admit that. Like and I know the same is true for you. I'm so hard on myself. So,
Oh my gosh.
I don't get a response and like I put all that effort and time and energy and love and heart into just a silly DM, y'all. I know it's not, at the end of the world, but it means a lot to me because it's my
Yeah.
business and this business is my baby. And I'm passionate about what we do. So I don't know. I think that's a good thing. It can obviously be a hindrance, but it's a good thing to be that passionate that, things like that bother you.
Well,
Right.
I mean, think about you said it. You're like, we put all this time and energy into it, and only to then get ghosted or, whatever it is. And I'm just going to be real here. Some of the best meetings that I'll get off Zoom, like I've landed the meeting through outbound messaging, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, because I do spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, especially since I am more focused on C-suite these days. But like you get on these meetings, right? And you have this killer meeting and they just like don't follow up with you or they don't respond to messages or emails afterwards and you just feel very less than in
Yeah.
the moment. And like they'll be on the meeting telling you how amazing you are and oh my gosh, this is such a unique perspective or oh my gosh, Claire, like what Barbara Law does, like we really need this, right? They say all of that stuff and then the reality of imposter syndrome sets in so hard when all of a sudden you're not getting responded to and I don't know anyone that doesn't, or I guess I shouldn't say that, but I'm sure some people don't have emotion, but I know we do, right? So we
Oh
take
yeah.
it really personally. And you and I have had conversations about this of like, I don't understand why that person ghosted me. Like, I'm not processing. Why,
Yeah.
but
100%. And to like, again, just coming off a conference, you'll have a great conversation with someone and they're like, I want to work with you. Here's my card. Let's connect next week. And then complete ghost. I'm like,
yeah,
crickets. Like, what
100,
did I say something? Did I do something? Did they read something the wrong way? Then I get in my own head. You're right about the imposter syndrome. That's why, like, I love and respect you so much because I feel like you're such a badass and like you just like keep going, like, regardless. And, I don't see any imposter syndrome in what you do because I just feel like you are just always like going
every
at it.
day,
And I mean,
every day.
I know, well, I don't know, but I really respect what you do and think that, if you do feel that way, you don't show it. And I like model what you do. And that's like what I, want to become. So
Well, tell me what does prospecting look like for Barber Law right now, aside from the social stuff, because I know you do spend a ton of time on LinkedIn, but with more of awareness, I would say probably being the focus for LinkedIn specifically. But you guys have grown so much, and
Yeah.
that doesn't happen by accident. And yes, that's referral based in some cases, but that's also, I'd imagine there's outbound there.
Absolutely. We're very involved, on a state level, on a local level. You know, I'm a board member of the Houston Mortgage Bankers, the Texas Mortgage Bankers, both associations right now. A lot of time and energy poured into these groups that, again, just builds brand awareness. People start to recognize who you are, what you do, being at these conferences, showing up. Like that is the number one thing, just like showing up and having conversations. And prospecting for me, at least right now, you know, other than LinkedIn and other than having a dedicated salesperson, is just being out and being present, you know, being in front of people. You know, other than that and being involved and giving back. I mean, that is one thing I will say that has been super um, powerful for us over the last year is like, as much as we give to the industry at some point that it comes back in tenfolds. And I've seen that happen time and time again. So we're going to keep doing that. We're going to keep pouring into all these groups that we're a part of, keep showing up, keep pouring into people and doing things even, you know, outside of the mortgage industry, but for people that are in the mortgage industry. Like I love talking about my girlfriend, Cissy Larkin, and Aggie Land Against ALS, which was a huge event that we put on this past year. And this was not a mortgage industry event, but because she and her husband are both in mortgage, we had so much of our community come and be a part of that. And they got to see Claire Barber, the board member of Aggie Land Against ALS, who isn't even an Aggie, by the way, but, you know, get our hands dirty and be a part of this and raise $250,000. And like, that for me is prospecting, right? Like people get to know
100%.
who I am and who my heart is and who I spend time with and what matters to me. And the Larkins are just amazing people. So I just love supporting them. But sometimes prospecting isn't being out in the mortgage industry. Maybe it's just being in other places that people see and creating a connection with them that way. You know, whether that's
Yeah.
having a mutual connection through a family member that had ALS, or I'm very involved with the Tourette syndrome of Texas, which have no one in my personal day-to-day life that has Tourette's, but one of my mentors from law school, his son did. And so being involved with that every year has brought on connections with banks that I would have never had, but for being at a clay shoot and meeting someone at the reception. So
Yeah.
prospecting is kind of just like showing up and being there for your people in your community. And that's
But
worth
intentionally, right? And that's what
very much so.
people need to hear in all of what you just said. Because
Yes.
I have these conversations every single day. Michelle, I don't know where my next lead is coming from. I don't know how to go get more. I don't know how to do more. And I'll ask them, you know, two very poignant questions, but the most important being, are you intentionally, keyword intentionally, sending a message every day to somebody that you don't know or creating an opportunity for yourself to be in front of something that is going to drive business into your life? And they don't answer yes. And to both of those questions, especially the one message every day type question, that is for sure a no. So what I hear
Yeah.
is the reactive versus proactive approach, right? Am I proactively and intentionally making this event something that I want to focus on? And I was on with a loan officer yesterday. She goes anywhere between 5 and 7 events a month. And I said to this woman, and she'll just leave her nameless for right now, but I said to her, I said, that's too many because if you're struggling on trying to create opportunity for yourself, then to me, what I'm hearing is you're going to the wrong events, right?
Yeah.
So maybe if we go to 3, but we hand select them based off of the person who's hosting it or someone who's involved in it is someone that you've done business with, and then you look at the event differently, right? You go into it with a different mindset of what is going to happen on the outside of it or on the
Yeah.
backside of when the event is over. But I think too many people go to all of these events, and that's just what I want people to hear me say and to make sure they understand how you are articulating that. We're not saying go to any and every event, right?
Right.
We're saying strategize who and where and why before you say yes.
Absolutely. And I will say that is something that took me a while to learn. Like I'm 100% on board with what you're saying. The first couple of years of running a business, I did everything. But you know what? I learned, like literally I'd show up like exhausted, running off a plane, going on to the next thing. Going to all those events means absolutely nothing if you're so exhausted after the fact that you cannot follow up with one person. And I would get in places where like, I am so exhausted. I just need this Friday to like catch up on emails and payroll and HR and whatever else is going on in my life, that those 5 conversations I had the day before just completely went into the trash can because I didn't have the energy to follow up with them. So the intentionality, like what you're saying, is so true. And that has taken me a long time and some maturity to kind of realize, okay, I don't need to be everywhere. And in fact, it's probably not good if I'm everywhere, if when I get home, I can't follow up on why I was even there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it takes time to get past that, let's throw everything at the wall and see what sticks mentality. But once you do and you figure out what those intentional things are, it takes prospecting to a whole nother level
Well, it
because
just
it's
makes
so
it so much
intentional.
easier. It makes it so
Yeah.
much easier. I mean, I just got back from an event and a lady that was there has, owned my course for 5 years. She's one of the very first people to ever buy Beyond the Method way back in 2020. And she's seen me evolve over the last several years, and I knew she was going to be there. I had coffee with her one morning and dinner with her the first night. And then what happened the next day is unexplainable. And like it's explainable, but unexplainable in the sense of no, go figure. And I should have expected that. But on the other hand, I didn't go in with the intention of, oh, I hope she introduces me to somebody. I just went in with the intention of this is someone who's been in my world, clearly loves what I'm doing, or else she still wouldn't be. And I'm going to make that relationship a priority. And that's where my brain went. And then the next day, I mean, CEOs of 2 large mortgage companies that are at this event personally come up to introduce themselves to me after I get off stage. And to me, that's like she probably said something to them, right?
Yeah.
Not just they just walked up to me on their own. Maybe they did, but I highly doubt it. And so that's the piece of the intentionality part that I think people need to pay attention to. Because
Absolutely.
when you go and you say, this is an event that one of my clients, one of my friends is super involved in, right? You go to a Tourette's thing that has no relation to your family whatsoever, but a mentor of yours, which is a relationship, to tie this down, right? Which is a relationship that literally helped build you.
Yeah.
It matters to you. And that's not a relationship that you just let go because, oh, now I own my big own successful, law firm. And so
Yes.
I want to honor you for how you said that because I don't think a lot of people heard that the way they need to hear that.
Well,
uh,
thank you. And but I will say, going back to that briefly, like I got a new client from the last April event because I sat at a table with a bank president, didn't even know who was bank president. He's in his shooting gear. I'm in my hosting now. It's just like the weirdest thing. Now we work with this bank that's a local community bank here in Houston, and that would have never happened. But I didn't do that expecting, to get a new client. But the fact that I did, again, it's like this idea like you give and you get in return. And
But you were
so
at an event supporting a relationship that has meant
yeah,
a lot to you, and that's the key, right?
yeah,
The event that I was at, same thing. The person who ran the event has been a client for 3 years. And then you have this individual woman who's been a client for 5 years. I went for them. Like I
yeah.
went to support them, right?
And here
And
they are cheering you on and giving you business. Like the power of relationships.
and
It's
you never even
everything,
know. Maybe you got sat at that table, Claire, with that bank president, and you didn't even know, right? Like
right?
and I feel like that's just God serving us because we're serving them
Absolutely.
and
Or
serving
even
him.
like this relationship with you. Like we send ideas back and forth and
All the
referrals.
time.
And you've introduced me to so many people that I have been either following on LinkedIn forever or wanted to get in touch with. And vice versa. Like I tell you all the time, put my name on anything and anywhere like you want to speak, come Houston, Texas. I'm 100%
Hey, you'll
on your
take me
side. And
shopping too, even super pregnant. So
of
just saying.
course I did. I couldn't let you go on stage without feeling like $1 million. And you did. You looked so good.
I just love you. I just love us. I love what we're building together. And I just love that this industry, as big as it is, it really is so small for us. And I just want everyone to know what's next for Claire. Where is Barber Law going to be next? And to wrap up our episode, I just want you to share, how can people get dialed into you and what you're doing? If they want to work with you, how does that, how do they get in touch with you, so on and so forth?
Yeah. So we are in the midst of conference season. So we are all over the place. We're part of the Mortgage Collaborative. That's our next big event. So if you're part of TMC, connect with us there. Also, the Texas MBA does some wonderful events. We have our secondary coming up. We have our annual convention coming up in April, secondaries in February. So very involved in anything Texas. Best way to connect with me is probably LinkedIn, or my emails on our website, my cell phone. I am a 100% glued to this thing. I answer it at all times. Again, workaholic. But I just love to connect with people. So it's such a huge part of what we do. I'm a texter, so it works well for me. But LinkedIn definitely is the best way to get in touch.
I love it. LinkedIn and voice notes, guys. That's all I gotta
Oh,
say.
we voice notes like all day long.
All day long.
But you know what? I feel like, and I just to wrap up like what you said, like I appreciate you and our friendship so much because it is hard. I mean, we are going through things at like the same point in growing our business, and there isn't many other female entrepreneurs like at our stage. And so I'm just really thankful for you and your friendship. So thank you for all the kind words and things that you said because I don't think I could be doing this without you by my side. So it's special to be on this journey with you.
Well, I want to honor you. Like, and I also just want to honor women like us, right? Who are just trying to support their families and just trying to be leaders in an industry that it's just not easy for us to be leaders in. It's not meant to be. I guess, right? It should be, but it's just not. And I think that when I see someone like you and I see other female leaders. Melissa Langdale was a great example of a young, or not as young, I guess, technically, but still young, entrepreneur who went out on her own. Like, there's so few of us that can confidently take that step. And I think for us as women alone, let alone wives, and in my case, I'm about to have another baby. And I think there's so
You
much
are.
insecurity about that, right? Of, are people going to forget about me? Can I take 2 months off? Like, you have all of these weird things that go through your mind. And as much as I love my husband to death, he doesn't have to think about that, right?
Yeah,
Like, so I just think we have to take care of each other. And I just, I know you and I wish we could see each other 100 times a year, and we just don't.
yeah,
But that's the point of all of this is like you have to take care of your people. And I think what Barber Law has done in such a short amount of time is absolutely tremendous. And all I can say is I really wish you could do more than just Texas because there are so many people who would be throwing stuff at you.
yeah.
But maybe we'll get there one day.
Well, thank you for that. I always say, like, as long as I leave this industry better than I found it, I did my job.
1,000%. Well, you've certainly done your job in my mind. So,
Well, thank you.
all right, guys. Well, I have absolutely loved this episode. Honestly, Claire and I could talk forever about 47 other things, but we're going to leave it there and we'll just have to have her back for another episode. But if you love this episode of the Coffee and Questions podcast, please share it. Please tag Claire, send her a message saying that you heard her. Let her know that you really enjoyed this conversation. Ask her questions if you have them. And then, of course, leave us a review on Apple or Spotify, wherever you're listening. And until then, guys, we'll see you in the next episode of the Coffee and Questions podcast.